Hello everybody, this is Mr. Hall. I just wanted to make a quick video to talk you through the initial steps of making the Jim Crow research paper project. And what I've done here is I've actually created a new topic just for myself so that I wouldn't be giving anyone any extra or unfair help. So what you see here is I actually created one related to Jim Crow in the military. It says, is diversity within the military necessary to secure our national defense? Why or why not? Okay, now I've got here a modified version of the handout that I gave you. The first one that I gave you that's on taking the notes on the different researched sources that you were supposed to go and find during your research, and then of course you were supposed to take some notes. So what I did is I went ahead and I actually pulled up a source that I found on PBS, and it's probably one that some of you are using. My guess is you're just using one that's like a different part of the same one, and it's from The Rise and Fall of Jim Crow. I'm going to pull that up again in a second, but you can see I actually took notes here. So yeah, mine looks a little different because I actually had to type on it. You got to handwrite on yours, so yours looks a little bit different, but it's the same exact thing. So what I did, of course, is I went through and did the same thing with the focus questions that all of you are supposed to do. But I started. I have my research topic and question typed right here, and then it says, what was the military like during the Jim Crow era? And then you can see I went ahead and did the same thing here. What was or how has the military changed or developed since the Jim Crow era? And then the last thing here for focus question 3, and you can see I don't have all the research for the different parts like you will, but I'm just showing you here. Is diversity within the military necessary to secure our national defense? Why or why not? So I've restated that question there, but I have my position clarified. It says diversity within the military is necessary to secure our national defense. So of course I would then go ahead and research some things that support that, as well as I would research some things to support focus question 2. But you can see that I've actually already done the research for focus question 1. And again, I'm just showing you as an example how this would be done. So that's why I've done sort of the quick version of this just to show you. Okay, so let me just show you my article that I have. I'm going to pull this up. I have a bunch of different things pulled up here. So, all right, so you've got here the article that I found. And what I did is I went to the U.S. in World War I. This segment of the Jim Crow stories from the Rise and Fall of Jim Crow source that some of you may be using. And so for one of your sources, and you can see here you can actually click through a lot of different events. And I also want to point out to you that many of these seem to be written by this individual here, Richard Wormser. I'm okay with you using the different articles from the Rise and Fall of Jim Crow. I would just recommend, of course, that you make sure that you know the difference, like make sure that you're not using them all or not trying to say, well, they're all part of the same source. Just be very careful with that, and I would encourage you to try to instead maybe go to Discus or search around, and there's a ton of different sources out there, so don't just limit yourself to just this. But I'm just going to show you what I've found, and then we'll take it from there. So again, the first focus question, let me just go back to that really fast, is you can see here, what was the military like during the Jim Crow era? So you see I've actually already gone ahead and pulled out some facts here, and I just pulled out direct quotes. Now in your paper itself you can actually paraphrase, and that's what I encourage you to do, is to go through and paraphrase. You really can't have any more than 4 direct quotes within your paper, and consider you're going to have 9 different citations in your paper, so you have to be kind of careful about that. Make sure you're prepared to do some paraphrasing. Now regardless of that, I still have to give credit to my source, and you can see I've actually gone ahead and done a correct MLA citation. I'll talk about that in another video. But you can see I've actually gone ahead and done that, and I have it down here already prepared. But anyway, you can see I've got these 3 different facts, so I'm just going to pull up my article, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I just want to show you. It's very important that you read each of your sources so that you know what you're getting into. But you can see here, this is one of my first sets of information. It starts here. It says Houston had the largest black community in the state of Texas at the time, with a police force that was particularly aggressive toward black people. Clashes developed between the police and the soldiers, many of whom were not Southerners and not used to segregation. The soldiers suffered beatings and unjustified arrests from the police. So for me, I think back to my focus question, I think, wow, that really definitely is something good in terms of, that's a good quality piece of information. That it says, what was the military like during the Jim Crow era? Well, this actually gives me kind of a mixture of the military and society. This is really interesting, imagining police officers actually attacking soldiers. I mean, that's outrageous. It's hard to even imagine. So I want to take that. So all I've done is I've taken this piece of information and I've put it directly word for word here. Now notice that I've put quotation marks around it as well. Okay. Now you can see I did the same thing with my other quotes there. I just went through and I found some more information in here, 2 other items that I really liked, and again, word for word, I placed them in here with quotation marks around them. Okay. Now a lot of times, and so you can see these are my other 2. Okay, African American soldiers hoped, and you see it goes on there. Only a few black soldiers were given commissions, and black soldiers were rarely given training comparable to whites. So I felt like that was some interesting information as well. And you can find even more information. Don't limit your notes to just 3 points, but that's just a good place to start. That's a good place to start with this, okay? So just consider that. I want you to see that the whole focus is trying to see, like, what was the military like during the Jim Crow era, okay? Now, from there, of course, you want to move on and see, okay, focus question 2, how have the military changed or developed since the Jim Crow era? So you can see I've actually went ahead and found a source that I feel like is good. Put quotation, a quote that I thought was good. I put quotation marks around it. I actually got that from a different source. Let me pull that up just really fast here. Okay, sorry, it took me a second. Okay, all right, so I found this other article here, and I haven't written out the citation and all that, but that wouldn't be that hard. It would be pretty easy to do. And I actually found this just by Googling, so sometimes Google is a good thing. So I read through a good portion of this, but you can see this is a very long article. This is a very long article, and some articles just have a ton of detail, and some don't have as much. But and again, I might have to cite this slightly a little bit differently, just because it's not exactly it's a little bit of a different type of source. But you can see here, this is actually the quote that I have here, where it says, however, demands for broad representation of increasingly diverse democratic societies, and you see it goes on and says there. So if I go back here, I've got that right here, okay? Because the question is, again, how has the military changed or developed since Jim Crow? So we're not still talking about how it's there's racism and all that. We're talking about how it's changed, and the military has really changed a lot since that time. So that's what I'm focused on here for my paper. Now, I would just go through this article and find more information. That would be the goal there, is to go through and find some more information in order to, get enough information from that article as well to help support my opinion. So I'd probably want to find a few more quotes in here that I feel like are really good for my paper and for that focus question. Now, I also want you to notice here, sometimes students wrongly think that to find a quote, it has to have quotation marks around it. That is not true. That is just a misunderstanding. Okay, remember, anything can be quoted. Okay, you are quoting the author. You're not looking for quotes within the text. You yourself are quoting the author. So, I mean, let's just say I wanted to use this first sentence here, okay? I could do that. Now, I haven't even read it, so I don't, or I'm just glancing at it. It probably doesn't work for my paper because I just randomly picked that. But if I felt like it did, if I were reading along and I felt like it did, I would just copy this word for word into my notes, and I could use it. Now the key, though, is once I do that, I have to be the one to put the quotation marks on there, okay? Because that is a word for word quote. So I need to be able to signal to myself that this is not my own work. This is something that I've taken from somewhere else, okay? Now within your paper, you'll have to do a little bit more of a formal citation. Just putting quotation marks around it isn't enough. But for this, for the notes, that's okay. Just for the notes, though, okay? So this is just for the notes. So I'm going to make another video that's going to talk about your outline and what you do with these notes. And then I'll make some more videos about the actual writing of the paper. All right, thank you.